a lot of times athletes, like these fellas, look, they're bored. Listen, you retire, you've got some money in the bank. At some point, wives and children get tired of having you around. Like, go do something. So a lot of guys now go to a microphone. They go to a podcast. Richard Sherman, who's very, very good at it, by the way, and KJ Wright have some kind of podcast. I think it's Richard's podcast. And they were talking about their time in Seattle, specifically the Russell Wilson relationship with Pete Carroll and how it conflicted with the defense's relationship with Pete Carroll. Are we upset?
Yes.
Are we upset? Does it seem like we've been holding a grudge for over a decade? The star quarterback got treated differently than the entire defense. The Legion of Boom. Oh, are we holding a grudge, fellas? Come on, man. First off, what happened to the sanctity of what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room? For 2 decades, you guys didn't say boo about the special relationship that Russell Wilson had with Pete Carroll. America thought that the reason they didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch in the Super Bowl loss against the Patriots was because Pete Carroll wanted Russell Wilson to be a Super Bowl MVP, and if he throws a touchdown pass there, he's the MVP. And we all thought that. It was urban legend that was the case, but not one of you guys ever said it, admitted it, or addressed it. And now here we are, all these years later. Russell Wilson's now playing for the Denver Broncos, and their offense is off to a slow start. So let's now unleash all the baggage we have about our relationship and time in Seattle. I think it stinks.
See, this is where I completely disagree with you, Carton.
Really? Yep.
I do. Because it's not about unleashing all the baggage. This is about, we were a part of that team. And so, no, I'm not going to talk about all of this when we're in a relationship. We're together. But the moment I'm no longer in that and I'm removed from it, years removed from it,
right,
then it's like, if it's mentioned, I might sprinkle a little bit. I might entertain it. Look, this happens everywhere in the National Football League. Quarterback comes in, quarterback's the face of the franchise, quarterback gets held to a different standard. And you're in a locker room with, this, Cody. Mm-hmm. You're in a locker room with a bunch of alphas who think they are the guy. Like, there are no, it's me. I am the guy.
There's no timid guy in any locker room. I'm with you.
So if you come in and you start coddling one individual, and you're not holding him to the fire like you hold me to the fire, I'm going to have a problem with that. I'm going to call you out on that. That's just the way the locker room code is. Now, you can say whatever you want. Nathaniel Hackett, in his presser the other day, we listened to him say, this is all about Russ. This is all about, every coach understands their job is tied to their quarterback play.
That's universal. Like, that's not unique to Seattle. The Seahawks went, as good as that defense was, it is a quarterback-driven league. So my issue is this. Listen, I don't begrudge anybody earning a living after they play or even being on a microphone. It's the content that you put out, right? Mm-hmm. And what bothers me is that right now, for a lot of people that now have access to a microphone, it's not about, let me be entertaining, let me be compelling. It's about, how do I get people to click that button and download it because I said something crazy? It's about clicks. That's all this is about now. It's about, look at me, look at me. I'm going to say something that's so outlandish, I'm going to get attention. Now, if you told me that these guys, that Richard Sherman, KJ Wright, or anybody on that team addressed this while they were on the Seahawks, had a problem with it, and spoke about it, I might feel differently about it. But to come out how many years later and start bitching about that the quarterback was treated different. Guess what, Rich? In every locker room in America, from Pop Warner up to the Pro Bowl, the quarterback is treated differently. Period. Stop.
This was known in Seattle.
Right.
They talked about it. This is something that they talked about. It wasn't like they didn't have these conversations. It's just they didn't handle it like this. And I can talk from experience. A lot of people think that, oh my gosh, Greg's on TV now and he always has something negative to say about Green Bay or Aaron Rodgers. And that is so far from truth. It's only the only time everything is highlighted or spoken about is when it's like, oh, did you hear what he said? Right. I can praise Aaron Rodgers all day. No one cares.
Right.
No one cares. But the moment I'm constructively critical, it's there he goes again. No, this is who I've always been. Yep. I've always told truth. Richard Sherman, we know he's always spoken truth.
Yep.
He has no problem saying it to Russ while he's with Russ or about Russ when he's not with Russ. So it's not about trying to get people to click. A lot of these podcasts are out there like that, for sure.
Because there's so many podcasts, all right, other than having a big name. And listen, Richard Sherman's a big name. And just for the record, I adore Richard Sherman. His personal story is very meaningful to me on many levels. He doesn't need to do this. He's smart enough not to do it. He's been around the block enough times not to do it. I think he'd be great on TV, as a matter of fact. And to me, when you start taking shots at guys, not that Russell's defenseless. If he wants to respond, obviously he can. But it's almost like sour grapes to call attention to yourself. And that's the thing I don't like. Like the notion of being a rat. I hate that. The notion of spilling secrets from a locker room that the other guy might not want you to share. I hate that. Mm-hmm. And to me, if I didn't respect the guy, and I respect Richard Sherman, to be fair, I don't know KJ Wright at all, so he might be a great guy also. I just don't know him. I don't know a lot about him. You don't need to do this. Like, this is not the way to get attention. You know football better than the majority of people on the planet. Be that guy. Don't be the guy that 10 years after a Super Bowl loss is still, has a list of people that wronged him. Come on. I just think that stinks.
I hear everything.
And by the
you're
way,
saying.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
The one thing I agree with, Russell Wilson stinks.
Thank you. Thank you. I hear every word you're saying, but they're making fun of Russell Wilson, so I'm on board with all of this.
Now, if he came out and said, I knew his whole career this guy was overrated, I agree. I'm with you on that. I'll ride shotgun on that podcast with you. I got no problem with that. But if you're not going to say it when you played, don't say it after you played. Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.